Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Red Dirt Rods. Now today we're continuing work on our Gen V LT build, which is an L83 5.3 liter that came out of a 2015 Silverado. What we're working on right now is upgrading our rod bolts. Now from the factory, these rod bolts are capable of being torqued 3 times. That's what GM says these are good for. So you have your first installation, which would be stock. You rebuild your engine. You can take these off once, check your clearances, and then tighten them one more time. After that, GM says they need to be replaced. We're going to install a set of MAHLE drop-in pistons, which are really slick. These are nice pistons. They've got all the gas porting, and they have 1mm rings for the top compression and second compression ring. So you have minimal friction on your cylinder wall, which means less wear, less friction, overall better performance. So we're going to show you guys how to do this so you can do it for your project. So I want to show you a couple things about these rods and pistons. So this is something that's a little bit different from LS's and most other engines. So the rod is basically the same as an LS rod. It'll take the same rod bolts. It is a cracked metal cap, so you can only put them on one way. When we took these off, we marked this for 5. This is the number 5 piston. But the interesting thing on LTs is the piston itself. And you can see here, that is a pretty radical shape for an engine piston. This, for comparison, is an 5.3 LS piston. This came out of an LM7. And you see how it's basically just a slight dish, mostly a flat top. These have this radical form here. So it comes up here, it dips down here, it's raised, it goes all the way right to the edge of the piston. More notably is right here. Let's see if I can get it to where you can see that. So this has an L and an arrow pointing forward. On the LS pistons, you get a dot. Most engines have a dot that points towards the front or a notch. These are actually marked, laser etched on the piston. This thing has 50,000 miles on it, by the way, and you can still see that really clearly. That kind of shows how well the LT engine burns. You don't get a lot of carbon buildup compared to the LS. But this is really important because if you put this in the wrong side, you put this on the right, and this is facing forward or backward or whatever, you're not going to have the right fuel mix that you need. This helps concentrate the swirl of the fuel in the center of the piston. That's why LT engines can run air-fuel ratios into the 64:1 range when not under load, is because they control exactly where the fuel goes, and it keeps it away from the cylinder walls, which is where you get the hot spots, which is how you get pre-ignition. So this is all integral to that. So it has to be done right. This one is a right side piston, and the arrow points to the front. Our new MAHLE drop-ins, it's gonna be really hard to see this because it's just really dark, but right here, they don't note right or left, but they do have an arrow that points to the front. So what you want to do with these is match it up with the arrow on your old piston, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark each one of these with an L. Or an R. That way we know which one goes where, and we're going to put them on the matching rods. But before we get to that point, we're we're gonna disassemble this rod. Now, just like Gen 4 LS engines, these use circlips. They're not press fit, so we're just gonna take a pick. I'm gonna pop the pick in here, and so pop that guy out right there. We don't need to do the other side. And then, hopefully, hold on one second, can hurt. Okay, all right. So we got the ring clip out. We're just gonna grab a socket. This is 15 millimeter, and we're gonna put it in on the other side and just push down a little bit to help move, get that pin moving. Woo! Just like that. Now we're not reusing these pins at all. That's a pretty tight deal. Now we're just gonna take these, set them aside. Again, this is a left with a forward arrow. So this is the piston that we're gonna use. It's not of critical importance because these rods do not have a big or small chamfer that goes to the crank because the crank is square cut, it doesn't have a fillet. But I like to put things back in the way they came out. Our stamping fits to the top of the piston on this particular one. So you want to make a note of that before you take them off. It doesn't super matter, but I like to keep things in the original position. So this is our new piston, just like that. I'm going to lay this down. The MAHLE pistons come with new pins and new circlips. Now, if you've ever done circlips, they can be a little bit tricky. Before we assemble anything, we're going to give this all a quick shot with some brake clean. Just want to clean it all up. Don't want any residual oils on any of this. Okay. Wipe out the piston end. Okay. All right. So this is our, where's the arrow go? There it is. So that's our arrow. That's our arrow. Cleaning it took off my mark, so I'm gonna put that back on. Don't want to lose that. All right. So it's gonna go like this, and the rod faces here. That's our mark that we made earlier. So just like that. So now we need to install the circlips. So it's basically just a ring with a section cut out. Never ever use pliers or anything like that to put these in. If you compress this, it will fail and you will kill your engine in seconds. The trick to doing circlips is to start it just behind the little notch and then take a small screwdriver and you're just gonna slowly start pressing this in. You don't want to scratch your piston up. Okay. Once you get it started, then you can just walk it the rest of the way in with your screwdriver. You don't want to scratch your piston up, but a few marks aren't going to make a big difference. There we go. Then we're going to take this little block. This is a soft jaw for a vise. You can use a piece of wood or anything like that. You just want to protect the edge of the piston while you're setting the rest of it. And we'll take a little dowel and drop it in and just press on that circlip just to make sure it's not going to come out. Now, I've got my marks to note the position of my rod, which is this direction. So I'm just going to slip the rod into the piston. Turn this around. I'm going to sit that on the block, slide my rod up into the bottom of the piston. I'm going to take this and drop it in, and you might need to wiggle the rod a little bit to get it to set. Then we take that dowel and I'm just going to tap it with a mallet again. That sets the pin up against the circlip. Okay. Then we take the next circlip and you do the same thing. Just going to set it in the groove. And use our screwdriver. And before you ask, yes, a flat blade screwdriver is the correct tool for this job. Okay. Just like that. Now our piston is secure. I like to flip it over. Give it a tap just to make sure that it's secure. And now we just do the rest of them. Let's make magic.